Hey there, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 139 of Sonic Boom TV. I found my rip hat. Must mean it's going to be the metal episode. This is the metal years 1981 through 1993, part 2, the CD collection. Now, what I'm going to do for these videos is going to be several of them because there's, I don't know how many CDs I have, but it's going to go through what I collected from basically 81 to 93 and additional, like if there's a band that has additional things that I've bought recently, I will throw that in, and you'll see that on some of these things. I think. But first, I wanted to start with when I first bought my first CD player, I had to figure out when this was. And the only thing I knew about the time period was that the 3 CDs I bought. I had bought NXS Kick, Poison's Flesh and Blood, and LA Guns Cocked and Loaded. And I have 2 of those here. Now, the way I figured it out was this was new when I got it. It was like brand new CD, only been out maybe a month or 2 at the most. And this came out on July 2nd, 1990. So, from somewhere after July, or July 2nd, maybe July, August, September, something like that, is when I got my first CD player and started collecting CDs. Now, I have a pretty big collection, but it varies in a lot of different ways, and it's, I don't have a lot of bands that I have complete runs of on one format. Some bands I have everything they ever came out with, some bands I don't. And a lot of the metal bands, as we all know, they kind of went away in the early 90s. And even though a lot of them still put out albums and still do to this day, I missed out on a lot of them, especially on CD. So, I bought these 2 before I had my CD player. I was getting a CD player. I knew I was getting some money. I don't think it was income tax because that's kind of late to be getting an income tax return. But who knows? Maybe back then it took a long time. But either way, I knew I was getting a CD player, and so I went out and I bought these 2 and the NXS Kick album. 2 days before I had the money to buy the CD player and the speakers and all that other stuff. So first thing we're gonna get to before we get into the CDs is that I found some more cassettes. So let's finish that. I showed some of these on another video, but this goes back to episode 126, I believe, with, let me make sure that, 126 was the cassette episode, so let's finish the cassettes. I mentioned I couldn't find Kiss, Thrashes, Smashes and Hits, or Smashes, Thrashes and Hits, whatever it may be, South Gang's Tainted Angel, and my Junkyard self-titled cassettes. Well, immediately after I finished that video, about 2 feet behind this camera is where my CD shelves are, and just out of sight was South Gang's Tainted Angel. Ooh, almost lost it there. Tainted Angel cassette just sitting there, and so I immediately went to play it, and it plays really good, except for the first song on the second side, which is Tainted Angel, their hit song. It drags for like the first 30 seconds of the song. I don't know what happened to this tape at one time or another, but it drags. So, whoops. Classic video here. Dropping stuff, catching stuff, dropping more stuff. Junkyard, self-titled cassette. This was the BMG version. You can see that. Put that right there because it kind of matches the Blink-182. Then I found 2 other things that fell out of a box the other day. Warrant's I Saw Red cassette single. I think this is worth a good bit because It has I Saw Red, but it also has the bonus acoustic version of I Saw Red. If you'll be able to see that. And it repeats on both sides. If you can see it. I don't know. But I think that's probably worth like 10 or 20 bucks. I don't remember what I looked it up and I found it. And then there's another thing that I don't think I've ever listened to in my life. But I remember getting this when I first went to college. There was somebody giving away like tons of cassettes. And I grabbed just all kind of random stuff. And I found this, Brian May and Friends. Now, this is probably more hard rock, but I never listened to it. But the thing is there's only 3 songs on it. They call it a mini LP. There's 3 songs on it, and it's repeated on both sides. It's Brian May and Friends with Edward Van Halen. That's probably why I picked it up, because I liked Queen, but, not that much to get a Brian May cassette, but then it was free, so maybe who knows. But then Alan Greitzer, Phil Chen, and Fred Mendel. I don't know who those people are, but it's got Eddie Van Halen on it. So and it's called Brian May and Friends Starfleet Project. So that was another cassette that I found. So put Brian May up here. All right. Now the next part I wanted to talk about is just some things that were like stragglers that were around that just never made it onto the shelf. These are ones that I've bought recently, used, and I just wanted to go through these real quick because they're here and might as well. First, we've got Warrant 86 to 97 live. So this is I guess this is the Jani Lane is on these songs. I'm not sure. I only listened to this once so far. Just recently found it, within the last couple of months. Love Warrant's early stuff. Dog Eat Dog got like the first 2 albums were great. Dog Eat Dog was kind of okay, and then after that, I wasn't into it. And once Jani Lane was out, I was out, and sadly he passed away. Next one is Ozzy Osbourne, Randy Rhoads tribute. I just picked this up not long ago. It says $7.99, but I only paid $1 for this. This is the Randy Rhoads and Ozzy Osbourne stuff, and I wasn't ever a big Ozzy Osbourne fan, but I'm one of those, like, it's one of the bands that I like the hits, Ozzy Osbourne stuff. I did get his last album, Patient Number 9, and I do like the No More Tears album, the whole thing. I think everybody loved that album. That was like his breakthrough as far as solo career. And keeping in the vein of Ozzy Osbourne, the only thing I have by Black Sabbath on CD is something I just found. I got this on vinyl as well. And this is We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. This is like a greatest hits as well. This is actually like a greatest hits. I don't know if any of it's live or not, but I don't remember. But anyway, Black Sabbath, We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. Another band that the hits are enough for me. I don't go into the deep stuff, the deep tracks or anything like that. I don't own very much. I own that on vinyl. I own Paranoid twice, and it's scratched up on both of them. And I think there may be one other. It's in there somewhere. We'll get to that when we get to the records. Then a band I never heard of back in the day, and I keep hearing of a lot lately, Vain. And it's Who's Watching You? This is a single. It's Water Damaged. It's just one song, I believe. One or two. I liked it, but I never heard of them at all. Yeah, it's just one song. Never heard of them at all back in the day, and I don't know. Everybody loves them, it seems like these days. Next one is Quiet Riot's Greatest Hits. Just recently picked that up. I loved a lot of Quiet Riot. The first 2 albums that were like the ones you couldn't find with Randy Rhoads on them or stuff, they're terrible. I had like bootleg, I guess, MP3s of it. I never liked it, and I always thought, well, maybe the MP3s are just bad. And then one day I heard a good copy of it, and it was terrible too. So I don't know. I didn't like it. Great, but Quiet Riot, very important band. We'll talk about them when I get to them. Another one I consider is hard rock. Black Crowes. This is Lions. Found this one not too long ago as well. This one came out later though. I don't. This might have been in the 2000s. I don't know. Then another band. I threw them in here, but you know what? I'm going to throw them out because I don't believe that they're even in the right time frame or anything. Then we've got Izzy Stradlin and the Juju Hounds, and that's just it. And that was Guns N' Roses guy, guitar player. I kind of bluesy. This is a promotional copy. It says it on the disc. Pretty good band. I got both of the. I think there's 2 or 3 albums. I know I got 2 of them. Maybe there was 3. So now what we're gonna do is just go through the alphabet. Today I'm gonna go through A through C. I'm already 10 minutes into this video, 11 minutes into this video, and haven't even started talking about the ones I wanted to talk about today. So we'll go through what I have. Like I said, I don't have everything. I have bits and pieces of some bands, some things that may be their best album, may not be their best albums. But we'll just go through and see how my collection came together. And a lot of these bands, I have digital copies of a lot more of their stuff. So some bands I might only have 1 or 2 CDs, but I might have MP3s for 10 of their albums, you know. So we just go from there. First up, we got Aerosmith and Pump. Now, and we'll get both of them. Aerosmith's Get a Grip. I have Permanent Vacation and one of the other ones on cassette, and then I have some of them on vinyl. And these 2 were great. This is when they kind of made their comeback. Every song on these albums was a banger, as they say. They had a lot of singles off of this. I probably wore these CDs out, man. Aerosmith, they have phases where people, say, "Oh, I only like this, this year." I mean, these years, and then I like these, and I don't like this, and well, I find that kind of true. But this era, I think, to me, was their best. And people will probably think I'm crazy for saying that, but I think this was their best era. This with the Permanent Vacation, and I feel like there was another one in there. That was my favorite of Aerosmith. And then after a while, they started getting real sappy, and they were just making nothing but sappy love songs. There's nothing wrong with love songs, but they were getting into that territory, And then next up, we got Alice Cooper Trash. I had this on a cassette that I taped off the radio, and I looked for this for. I was always looking for this, and I never could find it anywhere. I mean, I didn't try that hard, but I found it a couple months ago, I guess, maybe a year ago. So this was a great CD, and this is another one where the hits for him pretty much do it. But this album, I really like this album completely. And I have a couple other ones of his on vinyl. Speaking of hits, Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits. Now, I don't know what the deal is with this CD because it's blank on the inside right there. And it's got a little booklet. And it's got the CD. But I looked this up on Discogs. It's like $30. I got this for $1. It's real good shape. But I don't know what it is. It's something about this case is paper. One of the paper sleeves. But there's something about it. And it's like $30. Last time I looked it up anyway. So that's a good deal. What's up next? Now here's some stuff coming up by 2 bands that I don't remember a lot about them. This one's called Armed Forces, Take on the Nation. This is like a thrash band, I think, if I remember correctly. This came out, it's like 91, so this is getting late in the time. Yeah, they look like a thrash band. Get that light. Yeah. So I don't remember much about this. I remember the song "Take on the Nation." Uh, take on the nation. Something like. So I'm gonna have to listen to this again soon because this is another thing. This is gonna make me listen to a lot of stuff I hadn't listened to in a long time. The next one, a band that I've been trying to pick up a few things by here and there. This one I found not long ago. This one actually came out in 2000. This is Armored Saint. I have a couple of their cassettes. Revelation. I'm sorry, Armored Saint Revelation. They're kind of, I don't know that they're thrash, but they're a heavy metal band. They're not glam. They're the other kind of thing, whatever. But this one was a late one, but I put it in here because I do have other stuff by them, and I do like their early stuff, and so this one's pretty good. I listened to it not long ago. It's pretty good. There's no memorable hits for me on that one, but it's a good album. Next one. This is one that I listen to every once in a while. It's a pretty good one. The only thing I have by this band, and that's Babylon AD, Nothing Sacred. I've heard a lot of good things about this band. I know there's more albums, but this one I believe is the first one. It's came out in '92, so maybe that's not the first one. This is the end of the hair band era though, for when this came out. So and it was a cutout as well, so I probably got it cheap. So they're good though. I listen to that every once in a while, and it's a really good album. The next one, this one, was a group of kids, young kids, teenagers, I guess, and it had a kid named Thomas McRocklin on guitar, and he was supposed to be like this phenomenal guitar player. He was. I give him credit for it. I mean, he was like 14, 15 years old. Might have been younger than that, because I think he was the youngest one in the band. I don't know whatever happened to him. I don't know if he became great or not. But they put out this album, Bad for Good. And that's the name of the band. Band and the album. Well, actually, it's Refugee is the name of the album, but it's Bad for Good. I see this in bargain bins and thrift stores all the time, and it's always, the cover's all faded and stuff every time I see it. So I don't know, people must have never lasted, but I loved this album. They had a couple of hits. Their songs were a little mature for who they were, but the funny thing is, Danny Cooksley, he was on Different Strokes, and he was on that camp show. Can't think of what it was called. Salute Your Shorts, I think it was. And he was a singer in this band. And we had Brooks Wackerman, who's a drummer. He's been in like Suicidal Tendencies, I think, and a couple other bands. So he was successful. And then the other guy was Zach Young on bass, and I don't know anything about him. I don't think Danny Cooksley kept singing either. I don't think he did much after that. But this was a real good album. They had, of course, the songs are all in Old English and tiny, but they had 19 was the first song, that was a hit. But this was produced by Steve Vai. He got involved with them and helped them out, so you can tell his influence. I think he even played a little bit on this. You can tell they were highly influenced by other people helping them out. The next one is a band that everybody loves their first album. You can't get it. One of these guys turned out to be a bad man. Did something. I don't know the story. I don't want to get involved in it either. But he apparently did something horrible. And I don't know which one it was. But their albums are like in limbo forever now. And it's I don't know if I showed it. It's excuse me. It's Badlands, Voodoo Highway. Their first album, just Badlands. I thought I had a copy of it on cassette. I do not. I wish I did. It's very expensive to get it on vinyl. It was Jakey Lee was Jakey Lee was a guitar player. Ray Gillen was vocals. Greg Chason was bass, and Jeff Martin was drums. On on just about everything, I believe. And one of those last two guys did something. I don't know what it was, and but anyway, I don't know if they'll ever release their albums, even though because of the one guy, whatever he did, the other people have to suffer. And that album, if it came out again, if they re-released the first one and even the second one, which is pretty good, it's like bluesy kind of hard rock, they would sell a ton of them. But next up, another band that came out in 90, I believe 90 and 91. These albums came out. Yeah, we got Baton Rouge. Shake Your Soul and Lights Out on the Playground. This one just came out on vinyl. I got that. Came out over the summer, I believe, last summer. Excellent album. And this one's not far behind it. They're like, if you want some good hard rock, heavy metal, slight touch of glam, this is it right here. Go get it. You could probably find these CDs in bargain bins or whatever. There is another CD. Don't get it. It's something that was put out that wasn't really supposed to be a Baton Rouge album. Came from some company in Germany or something. Not worth getting. Then this one, I don't know when this came out, guys. You know what? I'm not going to do it because it says 2001. That was way late to the thing, and I only got one by them. So anyway, next up, a band that I don't have many CDs by. Surprisingly, I have cassettes, I have some vinyl, but as far as CDs go, Bon Jovi. These Days and Crossroad. And Crossroad is the greatest hits, and so it had that has all the big ones: Living on a Prayer, Keep the Faith, Wanted Dead or Alive, Always, Lay Your Hands on Me, Give Love a Bad Name, Bed of Roses, Blaze of Glory, Prayer 94, Bad Medicine, I'll Be There for You, Run, In and Out of Love, and Runaway. I think I said them all. Someday I'll Be a Saturday Night too. So this was probably why I didn't buy a lot of the earlier ones on CD, because I had them on cassette. Well, now I have two on vinyl. I have New Jersey and Slippery When Wet on vinyl, and I haven't seen any of the others around. These days, I wasn't into this album too much. I think after New Jersey, they were done as far as I'm concerned. This is in heavy metal. So then, later on, down the road, we got into some stuff that was starting to push that alternative rock kind of metal, but it was a lot of things. It was metal, it was hardcore, it was kind of rap. It was a lot of different things going on with it. This band, and I got 4 of their albums. So I don't even know what order they came out in, but we'll just show them. We got Biohazard, State of the World Address. This was a great album. I really love this album. And I haven't listened to this band in a while. And we've got Urban Discipline by Biohazard, Uncivilization, and Mataleo. And they also were on the soundtrack for Judgment Night, which is probably the best song on there, the Judgment Night song. I think they were with Onyx. They're just like a heavy band that mixes a lot of things in with them, and it worked. And so I would put them in the metal category, but with hardcore and rap as well in it. And great band. Check them out. Then we come across a band that I cannot find on CD anywhere, except for one CD, but I do have 3 of their albums in different formats. And that's Britny Fox, Boys in Heat. I love this album. Their first album is one of my holy grail albums, as people say, but I can't find these on CD, and I'm not trying to pay, normal price. I'm talking about like in used bins and all that kind of stuff. I could go online and buy them right now, I'm sure, but I don't know what the prices would be. But I have not found them in the wild, as we say. I just don't know why. They were there back in the day, I'm sure, but I just didn't get them. The next one, the band that had one great album, one decent album, and then as far as I knew, they fell off the earth. But I saw a video where they were doing some industrial style stuff. It was bad. Bullet Boys. This one is a really good album. This one has Hard as a Rock, Smooth Up In Ya, Ode to Joe, Shoot the Preacher Down, Kissin' Kitty, For the Love of Money. Just a great album. This one is I guess this is the debut. Real good album. The next one is where they kind of started veering to something, it was still that heavy metal glam stuff, but it was Freak Show, Boys Freak Show, and Hang On St. Christopher and THC Groove were their hits off of this. Now this is a fun little album though, because it's not, the album itself isn't the fun part, but the cover on this opens up into this poster, which has seen a better day. And then you flip it over and you got the poster of the band. Okay. So that's cool, right? Then, one day, I was in a store and found this. It was a cutout bin thing. I found it for $2, I remember. It's Bullet Boys Freak Show, but it's different. It opens. You got the pictures of the band now. Oops. You got a keyhole on that one, and it's open. You got a picture of the band there. And then you've got this CD with this eye on it telling you to do something. So what do? You pull this out. And that picture that was on the poster is in there. And you look through and you get this like three-dimensional image. If you can look through that real quick. I've shown this before. But you see like a three-dimensional image of that poster throughout the thing. So that was really cool. But this album, aside from a couple of songs, it wasn't anywhere near the first album, and like I said, they kind of drifted off at that point. I don't even know if they put another album out around that time. Maybe they came out later, but the next one of my favorite bands of all the times. And their changes didn't bother me at all when they started doing stuff. So, this band is called Cinderella. And this is Long Cold Winter. This is the most plain album cover and great album cover at the same time. And then we have Heartbreak Station. I have both of these on cassette. I have Night Songs, the first album, on vinyl. But I don't have the Still Climbing album, which was the fourth album. I don't think they did anything after that. So I've never even heard Still Climbing. It's I remember seeing it in a store. I believe it had a purple case. And I saw it in the store and I didn't want to get it because it was kind of, I was into other things. And I was like, maybe I'll come back and get that later. And I never did. And I never saw it again. But this one is their breakthrough, I guess. Even though Night Songs had a couple of hits and was really good, but this one had Gypsy Road, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, The Last Mile, Coming Home, If You Don't Like It, Take Me Back, Fire. Man, this is a great album. And then with this one, they started messing around with some country sounds. It was still kind of it was like kind of like the glam ballady kind of stuff with that, acoustics guitars and stuff. I mean, they still had electric stuff on it. It was kind of leaning towards a country sound. But the more things change, Shelter Me, Heartbreak Station was the big hit. And that's probably it. I mean, there's good songs, but those were like the big ones. Next up, we're almost done with the C's, and we'll stop this video. There's a band that I don't remember much about either. This may be a thrash band. They look like it. But then it could be a hardcore band. I'm not sure. This might not be heavy metal. I don't remember. I just remember loving the cover. And it's called Contagious. And they are Another Human Interest Story. It's on Relativity, so it's probably heavy metal. I think it's thrash. They look like they could be a thrash band. You know, they're wearing a little bit of leather, and they look kind of serious. They have one guy with a bad mullety haircut. And then they got two guys that got their head shaved. That makes me wonder what we're looking at here. But this is the only album I have by them. Haven't listened to this in 20 years probably, so I don't remember much about that at all. Then we've got a band that is New Orleans, local band that kind of made it big for a while. I remember buying this in at Kmart. I went to the Kmart with my aunt, my mom, cousins, and my aunt had some foster children, and they were all looking at toys, and they had this one aisle that had music, and it was weird because it wasn't a music section. It was like one little part of a row, and they had CDs in it, and it was in the corner where they had they were selling like TVs and stuff, but for some reason they had CDs there, and I found Crowbar Live Plus One. They're like a sludge metal band. I guess this is an EP. They're like a sludge metal band, I guess you call it. Heavy, you know, in the vein of some of the later Pantera stuff. After, you know, just, you know, they probably were friends with Phil Anselmo and all those guys. But this came out in the 90s, actually. This came out in 94. So it was a little late, but I'm including it just because it was a New Orleans thing. And then the only other album I have by them is trying to figure out when that one came out too. Can't see the dates on there. But anyway, Crowbar's Time Heals Nothing. And that was also, you know, same kind of music. I can't read it. The lighting in here is so bad and the text is so small. But anyway, those were because they're New Orleans bands, that's why I picked these up. I didn't like them that much. I think if I went back and listened to their stuff now, I'd probably be more into it. And I may do that, you know, eventually. And then the last one for this episode is a band that, another one that I found this came out in 1993. It's the only thing I've ever seen by this band. I believe they are also kind of a thrash or real heavy band. And they're called Cyclone Temple, Building Errors in the Machine. This one I found when I was in college. They came out in 93. They had a thing where they were giving a lot of stuff in college. I was getting a lot of free giveaway stuff. Like people were just getting rid of stuff in our student union, and this was in a box of CDs along with a bunch of other stuff that I got. And I don't remember much about this one either, unfortunately. I hate to say that when I'm doing these videos. But I just remember listening to it a lot for a little while, and then I just stopped. I don't know what the deal was. There's no hits on this or nothing. It's got it's only got 5 songs on it, but it was on Progressive International Records. And so anyway, that's it for this episode. There will probably be a lot of these eventually. I'm going to try to keep going with these and keep them under 45 minutes or so. This one's 35. So anyway, that's it for this, and we will get back to you guys later with more of my heavy metal collection.